got you, Lewis?
Yes, sir.
You are part of Veterans on Patrol. Is that correct? How long have you been volunteering for Veterans on Patrol?
We're going on 3 months since it was founded. Technically, I've been out longer. It started with a 22-day walkabout that I started in Maricopa County to bring awareness to 22 veteran suicides per day. And I was going to live with the homeless veterans to tell their story while specifically advocating for Army Ranger Alex Guerrero.
So that was the walkabout. You were just kind of walking around, meeting people, and actually living on the
homeless
street?
with them.
Okay. By choice?
By choice.
Okay.
But to understand what they were going through, I wanted to experience it myself. So I just had my pack, my flag, and my Bible, and I went and lived with them. I had a Veteran Lives Matter sign, a Veteran Suicide Awareness sign, and I would march up and down the streets. And one night, a camp that I had set up in the middle of the field, there was a couple vets with us, and then a grandson of a code talker, this Navajo kid, and our camp got attacked by a Black Lives Matter group, basically. And I had the Veteran Lives Matter sign out there, so I don't know if something that they had seen earlier in the day, but there was argument whether it was Black Lives or Red Lives, so there was natives and blacks that jumped the camp. They hit a 62-year-old Vietnam vet, Nash, in the back of the head.
So they physically attacked?
Oh, yes, and they would. What we found out on the ground was that veterans living on the streets get disability checks.
Yeah.
They get money every month. A lot of them do, and they're praised. Especially our older ones, our amputees were getting knocked out of the wheelchairs on the streets of Phoenix. They were getting kicked in the head. Drug dealers would have kids go steal their phones. They would steal the phones from the homeless. Then the drug dealer would give the kid $20, and they would use that phone for a burner phone so they can complete their transactions. It was one of the, and we caught a kid who stole a phone right in front of our base that we built up in Alpha, and he ran it right into our back parking lot, right into our arms, and he even told the police. Well, he got picked up in the park. He's suspended from school, and the lady offered him $20 if he would go get her phone. And so he asks an old man on the corner, "Can I use your phone to call my mom?" Old man hands it to him, and he takes off. And there are things like that happening, and everyone stands around, and nobody does anything.
The police don't do anything.
Well, the police, what can they do nowadays? Look at what the media has done to the police, even the military. We got American patriots right now afraid that the United States military is going to hurt them. That's a damn shame. The military needs our help. They don't need us to be afraid of them. They don't need us fear-mongering. Oh, no, Obama's going to send the militaries to get our gun. He's going to send the police to get our guns. I mean, look, the police officers on the streets, they're just like every other group. There's good and there's bad.
They're just people.
Yeah. And there's going to be bad within the good. And you're not going to encourage the good to stand up to the bad when you go out and demonize all cops as abusers, all cops as, bullies. I mean, that's not true.
It's bigotry.
Yeah. It's a double standard. Right. We scream about people saying that all of us American patriots are homophobic or, all of us are anti-Islam. I mean, we get mad if we get labeled. But
there are a few, but it's
in all groups.
It's not the full group, though. It doesn't speak for the full group, though. And it's the same thing. You're saying the same thing with the police.
Yeah.
It's a small minority that makes the whole group look bad.
And, if it wasn't for the police, we wouldn't have even been able to survive the 6 moves up in Phoenix. We had so much support from the police out there. They were awesome. They knew what we were doing. We were out there defending homeless vets, getting the crap kicked out of them, getting robbed. We were also out there picking up trash. We were also out there trying to find housing for the homeless living on the streets. We were doing 4 to 5 humanitarian water runs. We took over 12 blocks up there, and we would go down 12 blocks one side, up the other side. We give everyone free water in our packs. Poor, rich, didn't matter. Everyone in the middle of the heat, at the hottest part of the day, we were going out there to keep them hydrated. They saw what we were doing in the community, so they supported us. And that's what it takes. It takes people to stop talking about doing things, stop talking about all these great ideas, just go out and do them. We don't have to blame the government for the failure when we can go out and solve the problem ourselves.
Right.
I mean, why blame the government?
Well, it's a lot easier to point your finger and blame somebody else for what you're not doing. And as long as you're pointing your finger at somebody else, you're not looking in the mirror and saying, what can I do to make a more positive impact?
Well, we're judgmental, you know.
Yeah.
And Veterans on Patrol is basically a weapon against apathy. It's a weapon against judgmental. It's a weapon against division. It is a round table we have built to where it doesn't matter what you look like, what you believe in, who you love, you know, who you worship. None of that matters. If you want to come help us find every homeless vet in the state of Arizona, we want you at that round table because you have ideas. And you know what? There's a veteran out there sleeping in the desert who fought for your ideas. And instead of putting you down because you have a different idea than me, I'm going to join you and go help that veteran who fought for your right to have that idea. Why can't we think like that as a people?
Well, I think that's one of the things that's really encouraging about what I've seen and heard about Veterans on Patrol. Because it boils down to this: treating people well, treating people with respect, giving people what they need. There's a lot of people, and I know you're not prejudiced. It's not just veterans that you're helping, it's anybody in need. It doesn't, and like you said, it's not a prerequisite that they have to believe in a certain ideology or a certain religion or have a certain skin color. It's just, if you need help, here you go. That's great.
These are some of the greatest Americans I know. That's my church. And we're going to be here for them. We made them a promise. You sow good seeds.
So yeah, reap what you sow too, and it sounds like you're reaping really good benefits.
I'm watching these lives change, and you know, there's always naysayers, there's always false accusations, there's always people trying to tear you down, spreading rumors. I've heard it all. I don't care.
Well, that's
I've been FBI, COINTELPRO. I mean, I've been through all this stuff, you know, and half of the stuff I get blamed for happened to me, you know, and at the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't matter because we're out here 24/7. And while they're still sitting there saying what a bad person I am or what a scam VOP is, we're continuing to help people. And you go find one person we've helped who's going to say anything bad about us. You ask the people we've helped. That's how you judge us. Judge us by our results.
So you're not
Go look at the lives we're changing. We're not going to engage with them. I just had to let an entire base in Alpha walk away, you know, but I said I was going to put it in God's hands, you know, and if they want to go the route of fundraisers and working with the city that lied to us and abandoned the homeless vets when we first launched, then let them go do that. Because who knows, I tell people, there might be some purpose that God has for them. It's not for me to hold on to. We built that base for the homeless veterans. If this group wants to go take it and run off with it, we've given them everything we've donated. All the money we sacrificed and financed for starting the first VOP base. Everything that my family and a few other families personally sacrificed, you know, it's all there. It's yours. Doesn't matter if you want to do it our way. Just go do whatever you want to do it your way, you know, but, you know, you can't be part of what we're doing because you want a nonprofit. You want to raise money, and we don't want that. You know, we don't want that element coming in because that's when the problems occur.
When
the minute money is introduced, it's when it occurs.
It turned these people into cash cows.
Yeah, and then what are we doing? We're just making money off of the poor like everyone else. Screw that. You don't need money. We're showing you right now you don't need money to help them, so why are you setting up fundraisers? That's what I'm trying to get people to understand. And these VSOs, like, we're doing what you're doing, and you're spending all this money and not achieving half of the results we're achieving. And by the way, our people are happier here on our base than they are in your freaking shelters. What does that say about your program? You know? If it's not working, you judge by the people that you're trying to help. How do they feel? You know, how happy are they where they are, you know?
Well, the focus becomes, we need more funding. We're going to get more funding next year as long as we jump through these hoops, and this is what we need to do, so the focus...
We throw money. At our combat veterans, we throw pills at them. A pill, you know, they need a person who gives a shit about them. They don't need a pill that's going to screw their brain up. They don't need to be drugged up zombies, you know, especially our combat vets.
They need to get the medicine naturally. They need some psychotherapy.
They need people to care about them. If they have brain injuries, there's ways to heal them naturally, you know, versus pills.
Well,
you know, they need to have their promises made to them fulfilled. None of this waiting 6-7 months for this and 8 months for that and a lost piece of paper. Now you got to go to a back. No. If you can cross this border and get everything free, then you can go and fight for this country, come back and get everything free. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Okay, we take care of our immediate neighbors first. We take care of our homeless veterans and our homeless Americans. And then once we take care of them, we go out and we help every other poor person that we can. That's what we're supposed to do. But we don't forsaken our neighbors to help other people, especially when those neighbors were forsaken, went and fought for our right to fight with each other. We don't do that. Right is right, wrong is wrong. We prioritize. There's nothing inhumane about me saying that that if I had to choose, I would help the homeless veteran before I would help the homeless illegal. But you know what? I'm helping a homeless illegal right now. I take him food. I don't turn him in. I know where his camp is. He keeps asking us to help him get papers. I'm not going to do that, but I'll make sure you have food, water, clothes, and I'll just keep an eye and check on you every now and then.
Make sure they
you know
have
what?
the
3-4 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have called ICE and had your ass hauled out of here because I would have seen you as a leech on the system that's taken away from the homeless veteran. But
what changed?
We're not out here to hurt people.
How did
all
you
it takes
change
is
that?
one instance of us thinking it's okay to hurt one of the people. We're out here to help.
How did you change that mind frame from going to that to a more humanitarian mind frame? I mean, what was it? Was there a tipping point?
I had a child. I had someone to care about other than myself.
And then
I cared about what I was going to leave her. More than 22 veterans are abandoned to suicide every day in the United States of America. Think about that. Now that is the government's number. It's 22 veterans a day. One veteran every 65 minutes commits suicide. That CDC report, if you look at it, excludes 21 other states, including Texas and California. So you can bet your butt that the number's a whole lot higher than that. But it doesn't matter if I have a banner over there that says 22 per day, because if you don't care at 22 per day, you're not going to do anything at 33 per day or 43 per day. So if the number 22, veteran suicides, doesn't get your attention and make you want to pause for a minute, just to pause, then I don't know what to do. Because there's some disconnect that you have with your own neighbors. My job is to find a way to connect because they need every one of us to help them. And we have to stop fighting over everything else. Let's come together and fight for them. Let's let our veterans know we love them, we care for them. We love you so much, we're going to go find every one of your homeless brothers and sisters and we're going to take care of them. And if you want, we need your help, come lead the way,
Well, let me talk to you for a minute about suicide. By talking to you, it sounds like you've been personally affected by suicide.
Well, yeah, and I think we all have. I know soldiers who've killed themselves. A lot of my personal friends have been suicidal. I've been suicidal in the past.
I don't think people can understand quite how it really does affect you to your core and rock you and knock you down, and it's something that you probably have to carry around with you the rest of your life. So
suicide is it's nothing that really can be described, and I've felt the pain of the moms, so many of them out there. I love y'all. I mean, they know. There's so many of our mothers in our ministry that lost their sons and daughters to suicide, and a birthday, a special event. These are days of extreme grief, and they don't understand. A lot of them blame themselves, and I'm looking around at a country that's not doing anything to come together to help these families. They're too busy fighting with each other.
Suicide's a difficult subject to talk about, I think.
Well, it is, because at the end of the day, someone's going to walk away feeling like they're responsible and they failed that person and that person's dead because of them.
That was a hard trap not to fall into. That you feel responsible because
you could have done more. You should have noticed the signs. What else could you have done if you wouldn't have been so tough? And you look to explain something that's really unexplainable, and we stopped looking for reasons to place the blame on suicide. Because blaming is not going to get us anywhere. What we started looking was for purposes to prevent the next suicide, to building a platform and to doing something to get the moms, to get their voices heard, to get their stories out there. You want to do a great interview, you want to do a great documentary, you go contact the moms of the 22. You talk to the mothers and you interview them and you tell the story of their soldier who came back a hero, was forgotten about. Most of them, most of the ones we know, they all had problems with the VA and the system. And we have all these moms blaming the VA, with the VA staffed by their own neighbors, by their own community. So we don't even realize we're blaming our own neighbors.
So this started up in Phoenix?
Yeah, it originally started in Phoenix.
Okay.
And then after Alpha Base was established, I came down here to Tucson, you know, because I lived in Tucson when I went to go start my walkabout in Phoenix. I chose Maricopa County because it had the worst ranked VA in the nation, and a veteran I was advocating for was in crisis in that county, and I couldn't get anyone to help him. You know, he was being punished, and he never did anything. Served 23 years, 9 months. And he lost everything because his wife ran off with another man, took the kids, moved someone into his VA home. He retires in Army. He's a first sergeant, E8, retires E8, 23 years, 5 combat tours, and he was homeless. He came home to no home, and he lived on the streets of Phoenix for 3 weeks until a church stepped in. That's sickening that we allow that to happen. We've got 22 veterans committing suicide every day. They're coming back to a nation that's destroying each other because you like Trump or you like Hillary or you know, you don't like Muslims or you don't like Christians. You know, it's got to be something. Yeah. It can't be us coming together to build something together, to do something good. It's got to be us dividing ourselves, you know, and fighting, you know. And it's egos, man. It's egos. And one thing that I love about the veterans as an advocate, you know, is they don't have those egos. The clear majority of them, they have this brotherhood. They don't have those egos. And when they come back here to a nation full of egos and they start assimilating to egos, they don't know how to act because that's not who they are. Right. You know, that's not who they were trained. That's not, they're bred war fighters.
Do you think this division ideology, do you think it's something like, has something to do with the fact that America is kind of purposely breaking, you know, causing divisions? It's kind of like that divide and conquer kind of thing. It seems like we're getting it from up above where they're trying to create these divisions so that way legislation and other, you know, maybe a socialistic agenda might be easier to achieve because it's a lot easier to achieve that if everyone's kind of segregated.
Well, together we stand, divided we fall. I mean, in the Bible, you know, a house cannot divided by amongst itself cannot stand. Right. But who's to blame? I mean, I don't know. All I know is that...
Well, blame's not important.
Well, yeah, okay, is it a part of some agenda? Well, you know, there's nothing I can do to stop it, you know, but what I can do is go make sure every one of my neighbors know that I'm their neighbor and I love them, and if something happens, you know, we need to rely on each other. We have people who need help. I don't want to fight with you over who you're going to vote. I'm not going to fight with you over who you worship. I'm an American Christian patriot, and I believe in liberty for all. And you don't have to say it's a libertarian or a Republican or a liberal. I'm an American. Okay, that's it. I'm an American. I was blessed to be born in America. I'm an American first. I'm an American.
And you see others as Americans.
Everyone else as an American. You may be a different American. And I've been sucked into the politics. I was horrible at that for years. I was one of those guys, man. I would say, you know, you can't talk to a dumbass liberal. And, you know, I knew everything, you know, because I was hearing the words of everyone else, you know, who's worshiping these few individuals. And they all turn out to be corrupt. They all turn out to be liars. They never fulfill their promises. And then we just wait for the next person to come and lie to us again. So something wasn't right, you know.
So at one point you were all for political process and and supporting a guy to come and save us.
Then I woke up because it's common sense. How many times does it have to fail to realize if you don't change something, it's going to continue to fail?
Fool me once, shame on you.
Insanity.
Yeah.
You know, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and that's what Americans have done. We've gone to completely complaining about all of our government failures while at the same time we're using a voting process that I believe personally is, it's rigged. You know, people are afraid to say certain things like, oh, well, there's some grand conspiracy. It's like, look, don't tell me someone got 108% of the vote of any county. You know, don't tell me, you know, that all this gerrymandering and all this pushing boundaries over here and boundaries over there and this insider stuff, that doesn't represent America. Okay? All you're doing is manipulating an entire country and you want it to go left or right. when what we want to do is go straight forward. I don't want to turn left or right. My mission's in front of me. So I'm not going to allow you to pull me to the right side of the spectrum or the left side of the spectrum. I'm going to the front, and I'm asking anyone who wants to help me find our homeless veterans, come out here and join me. You know, come on out here and realize Americans, we don't hate each other.
No, we don't.
Like the way the media makes it. When I marched that flag, I've had a Muslim put me in the best room in a hotel out there in Virginia at the Red Carpet Inn. It's on the Walking for the Forgotten page. Went and got ice for my blistered feet. I'm wearing a Christian t-shirt with the Christian flag on it, carrying an American flag, a soldier's backpack, and a veteran suicide sign. And that man put me in the best hotel room.
Well, I think it's sticking to core values. I think people need to be reminded of their core values and then have to be reminded they have to live by them.
You get back what you put out.
Right.
If you're going to go out and put out a bunch of hate and negativity and arguing with somebody because they believe politically different than you, then you're going to get that coming right back from them. If you're going to go out to them and say, you know what, I love you, accept you the way you are, I'm not going to fight with you. There's no reason for us to fight. We got problems. What can we agree on that we can work with?
There's a lot more you can agree on.
There's areas we can get together and solve problems, but we won't do it because we disagree on all this other stuff.
Yeah, and so in your younger days, you pretty much thought, I think a certain way, I'm right about how I think, and everyone should think like me. Would that be an accurate statement?
Horrible. Until I had a child, until about 6.5 years ago, I was from the dredges of society. My life is a testimony to God in itself, you know, and I don't care if anyone else believes in it. I respect their right not to believe. Respect my right to believe. I won't force it on you. You know, I'll sit and have an actual conversation with you because I am curious. I want to know what other people's ideas are. Right. I want to know, and we can we just toss people to the side that have the very solutions to the problems we have because we can't see past a skin color or we can't see past a religious difference or a politician
or a political difference.
And that very person, putting that person with you, could go out and probably save 100 lives.
So how did this change occur? I mean, I'm sure it didn't happen overnight, but I mean, how did you change to be from being very closed and narrow-minded in your way of thinking to be such open-minded, with real Christian values?
I got off of, my wife and I stopped going to churches. I took a homeless man to a Baptist church, and the way they shunned him, I was done.
It went against the Christian core values?
It does. I'm not going to tell other Christians how they should represent Christ. I just know how I'm not going to represent him. I'm not going to sit there and judge a man because he's gay or a woman because she's gay. I'm not going to judge anybody. You know why? Because when I read the book, it says, judge not lest ye be judged. It says, love thy neighbor. It doesn't say love thy straight neighbor. Love thy married neighbor, love thy political. It doesn't say any of that.
It says love the sinners.
Yeah, love thy neighbors,
Help the homeless.
Yeah.
So that's what I find amazing is, you mentioned the Baptist church. That's kind of a religion of man more than a religion of God when it comes down to, say, the pure teachings of Jesus. And I would
challenge anybody in the United States of America to find a church like we've got in Arizona with the streets and the people we're helping. And you find a ministry where every day you see people smile. When you see them wake up in the morning and they had a safe night's sleep and they slept a full 10 hours and they're refreshed. And when they wake up, they have a warm fire and there's food. There's water, there's a restroom for them. They have a safe place. And that's the church. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be out taking care of one another. Not everybody can be an advocate for the poor, but there's other causes out there where you can get with other people and go and make a difference. It doesn't all have to be political. If you're about the environment and stop complaining about stuff, start grabbing bags, going out in the desert. We do that as part of our mission, is to pick up all the trash in the desert and to clean up the homeless camps. They don't have trash service. So our deserts are riddled with trash. So we're going to go out there and clean up their camps. We're going to get them new tents. We're going to let them take a little bit more pride in their environment. And then we're going to say, when we bring you food, have your trash bag. We're going to take it off and we're going to take it to base and get rid of it for you. It's doing things to help other people. And then once you teach them to help themselves, you just step back.
So you teach them to fish. Well,
you give them a rod. And that's the problem we have in the Patriot movement. is, there's so many in the Patriot movement, and it's like they've all got the best idea, and it's got to be this way, or they won't work with this group, or they won't work with that group, and some groups you just can't work with, and I can understand that. There's some that we can't work with,
Just have moral differences, huh? Is that maybe
they're
why
excuses. I challenge them all as excuses. If your idea is so great, why aren't you out there doing it? Why are you on Facebook talking about it? If you really want to help your community and prepare your community, why aren't you going out there knocking on doors, talking to your neighbors about community preparedness? I operate a think tank out of North Carolina, Preppers and Patriots, dealing with building modifiable disaster response plans for communities. We built 5 freedom shelters in that state just by getting together with farmers and property owners and making a plan for families to evacuate themselves to, connecting families across the state. We didn't sit on Facebook talking about it. We went out there. We put on the free service. It takes, Americans don't know how to talk to each other.
So you would encourage people to try to look in the mirror and practice what they preach, not just preach it. Is that a good summary of what you're saying?
I would encourage them to go out and do something good for someone other than themselves and see how that feels. And I'm not saying that people don't do that. I'm saying if you're down, if you're in crisis, if you're a veteran and you need help, there are people out here and you're needed. And one of the best things that we've seen work is to see our veterans who are in dark spots come out to do a night patrol, a recon, come out, they find a homeless veteran, they're helping their brothers and sisters, and to see that they have a purpose.
And at the same time they're helping others, they're indirectly helping themselves.
Yes, because we can put their trainings and leaderships to the use out here. We do patrols, we do recons, we do scouting, we do meet and greets.
Would you say that this kind of volunteer work is a form of therapy for the individual?
Yes, it's one of many ways. There's many ways we can heal our soldiers. No one talks about hyperbaric oxygen therapy in Patriot clinics.
What is that?
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. It's hyperbaric. You're basically put in a hyperbaric chamber. It's oxygen therapy. What it does is it repairs brain damage. I mean, almost 100% of combat veterans have some form of TBI, whether it's mild or severe. Well, this is a non-narcotic. This is something pharmaceuticals can make money off of. They're put in a pressurized chamber, and they're given oxygen, and they go through 40 dives of oxygen therapy, and you'll see their brains heal. Now, this is scientific evidence. We've got a neurologist in Tucson, Dr. Carol Hendricks, Healing Arizona veterans. They will treat veterans with TBI for free because they care about healing their brains, and she does it without any pills. And pharmaceutical companies can't make money off of that. But this is recognized in Japan. It's used all over the world. It's used in Israel. It's used in Russia. It's used all over the world. It's a recognized science. Oklahoma has Patriot clinics across the state because the government made a law. And there are things like that most people are unaware of that will help us help our veterans.
That's the
but
first
if we don't
I've
get the
heard of
message
that.
out to them, they don't know. It's not mainstream media news.
It
It's not as cool.
generate
It's not
money.
as cool as who Kim Kardashian is sleeping with, or who the next hero is.
Right.
It's.
But in reality, at least in my mind, from my perspective, this stuff is way more cooler because this is the kind of things that make a positive impact in the world that we live in. It makes a positive impact on individuals. It makes a positive impact on your
Yourself.
brothers and sisters. And as a result, it makes a positive impact on who you are. You can sleep with who you are.
It's yourself. I tell everybody, we need them. America needs our homeless veterans, our poor, our veterans in crisis, our military, our law enforcement. We need all of them. All the groups that are being demonized right now. Everyone is being pitted against each other. We need them all. They're all important. And the homeless veteran and the veteran suicide epidemic is the one cause, in years of studies that we've had, that's actually most likely to succeed in getting a massive roundtable, a big coalition of left, right, everything you can imagine, where everyone's coming together in just search of the Arizona homeless veteran. And it doesn't matter if the rest of the country does it. All that matters is us in the state of Arizona, we're in a race. Anybody wants to challenge us in their states, and let's go see who can find the most homeless veterans in the shortest period of time and get them housing. Let's start competing against each other to build other people up instead of competing against each other to tear each other down. Because we can do good together if we set aside the nonsense.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think that's exactly what we need in this world today.
And we're about to get a train.
Yeah, so, but definitely, I mean, that's something that I think that's the cure that we need in America is people helping their neighbors out. It's, don't be disconnected from your neighbors. Thanks for the air, you're doing great, man.
I'm just telling the truth.
Well, that's the other thing we need. We need some real down-to-earth truth to it all. Wave at you guys?
A lot of them are great. We got one person that doesn't like to let go of the horn. We got one that'll barely touch it. You know, just I guess somebody doesn't like us out here.
There's an asshole in every group.
Yeah.
Growing up, I used to hear a lot of people say, well, we can't really trust people anymore. It's not what it used to be. You know, oh, now we have, you know, poisons and razors and candy on Halloween. What do you think that's more of a myth? I mean, you're dealing with all sorts of people. Probably when it comes down to the homeless and stuff, you're probably dealing with drug users and alcoholics and people that are criminals. Is there really something to fear in our neighbors, or is that something that is there something to fear out there as far as getting closer to your neighbors and having that kind of community again where we sit and we talk to our neighbors and we look out for them, we help raise the children and, you know, that kind of mentality, like, I guess in the utopian ideals of the 50s, how it used to be. I mean, is that something that is unachievable today?
The only thing that Americans have to fear with meeting their neighbors is rejection. And that rejection is something that's not even a realistic fear. Because if every neighbor was afraid of being rejected by the other neighbor, then you would have neighbors who would take anyone just to not be rejected, you know? So I think it's the fear of rejection. We're programmed, you know. Oh, we've got 5,000 Facebook friends. Well, you let a disaster happen with your family. You'd be lucky if 3 or 4 of those outside of your immediate family and friends in your own area are there for you. You know, we have this illusion that we're connected to the world when we're really disconnected from ourselves and our own families. And it's the technology, you know, and with the convenience technology brings, you know, there are also other things that come with it that aren't so good. And we lose things like family values. We lose things like respect for each other. We're in such a rush, you know. I mean, God forbid the phone take more than 30 seconds to download a signal from space so we can see a picture. You know, we're so impatient, we're spoiled, we have everything handed to us. Yet here I am out here in the deserts of Arizona living with homeless people who survive with nothing, who are grateful for everything they have. You know, if you give them a bottle of water, you'll see a smile on their face and they'll be so appreciative. And they'll actually, you know, a pair of socks. I told everybody in the beginning, it was amazing. You put on your socks every morning. You give them a clean pair of socks after wearing the same pair of socks for a week. They'll take the old ones off and they'll put them and you just see them smile. Feel like $1 million, just a simple pair of socks. We take things for granted, you know, and instead of putting down these people, we should be humbling ourselves, you know, and trying to learn from them because they teach you how to appreciate what we take for granted. They teach you how to survive what we can't survive without. You know, these people that are being put down on the streets, if a disaster struck, these would be the first people I would turn to in my disaster response plan because I know they're not going to freak out when they don't have their phone working or that the air conditioner isn't on or they don't have running water because they don't have any of that. They're already survivors. So respect them and love them, you know, because one day a disaster might strike and you may be dependent upon the very people you scorn, the very people you look down upon, and you better hope you don't get a bad one.
The very people you wish they just went somewhere else, huh?
Yeah.
As a solution. Yeah. Wow. And you do feel, though, with our great connectivity of social media and everything, you do feel one of the side effects is that we are a little more disconnected from the human element?
Oh, definitely. We have, the thing with social media, it's a double-edged sword. It's the only media platform we really use unless local media wants to do a story. And social media, you've got so many people that are just on there constantly pounding on their keyboards, complaining.
Running on the adrenaline rush of
But
excitement.
if you go to the Veterans on Patrol Facebook page, you'll see pictures of us helping over 1,000 people in 3 months, over 50 getting into housing, so many reunited with their families, all this waste, used syringes moved from the park, people who have been helped, people who have been victims of crime that we've been there, conflicts we've resolved, lives we've saved. I mean, Thanksgiving Day, a little girl running around getting ready to hit a busy intersection. We're on our way to deliver Thanksgiving dinner to our homeless vets living out in the desert because they don't have the means to come out here. They don't feel like coming all the way out here just for a dinner and going back. We're taking it to them, and here's a little girl. We pull over, we grab her, we go looking for her family in the community. We finally get the police out there. And then, she had snuck out. The mother finally comes down the street from a neighborhood, and it's lives like that. When we sit there, you feel so proud. Like, the little girl's okay. It could have happened so many other ways. If we weren't out here, who knows what could have happened.
Yeah.
And we feel like we're out here for a purpose because we continue to see people being helped and their lives changing. I watched a woman go into an apartment today. And that's what we get to see so much is people getting into homes that want homes. And the people that want to be left alone, we see them walking away with a smile because they've got a new tent, a sleeping bag, food, clothes. They let us know where we are, and we're going to take them supplies and check on them.
And you're doing all this on a volunteer basis?
It's all volunteer.
No government funding?
No, we're an SSO. And an SSO is a self-sacrificing organization. When everyone started forming all these, I'm a non-government organization, I'm a non-profit organization, we decided, okay, we're a self-sacrificing organization. We financed everything with Alpha up front and got volunteers and everyone to help build the base structure. And every single thing that's donated goes to the poor. We don't have a fundraiser. I'm the founder. I'm the program director. So from top, I don't get paid. No one underneath me gets paid. No one shipping supplies to us or anything like that. Nobody gets paid. We're not.
But you're getting paid on a much higher level, on a much
We're saving lives. And how many of these lives have we saved are going to go out and save other lives? You don't know. But I know when you're doing good, the potential is limitless.
So making a positive impact in the world that we live in, you make a positive impact on one individual, and that in ideology should multiply.
Your community. We're not going to change the country by marching on D.C. We're not going to change it by marching on our local governments. What we're going to change, the only way we're going to change it, if we shut off our televisions, we start talking to our neighbors, and we start doing something together. We start coming together. I mean, how hard is that? And if you're living in a country where you don't feel comfortable coming together with your own neighbor, remember, we have children. I have a 6-year-old daughter. Our job is to leave our children something better than we inherited. And we're failing miserably. And we're going to draw a line in the sand. I'll do it personally with my child. I'm not going to fail her. Okay, she's going to inherit something better. And even if it's just communities across one state where all these people are families now and they're no longer fighting and they're doing good, she's going to inherit that. That is something that I will have left for her. It's better than when I first moved there, and we did this for you. So, that's what we're supposed to do.
You're thinking in the long term.
It's our children, man.
Long-term
If it wasn't for my child, I would still be walking with the devil himself. And I know how the enemy thinks because I used to be the enemy. I know how the manipulation occurs. I know how the mind games occur. I know how the psychological warfare occurs. And it's completely mind-blowing how so many people who say they're awake are still responding to the same news articles, the same stories, the same distractions.
The same hype, the same erratic emotions.
Yet they're awake, but they're responding to everything the media wants them to respond to.
With hate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no love in these messages. There's no love at all. And when do you build something with hate? The only thing you're going to build with hate is death, destruction, disease. That's building with hate. And all that does is destroy. You build with love. And to say love nowadays in society, everyone gets this weird feeling like it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
Oh,
someone
you
looks
hippie.
at you. Someone looks at you and says, man, I love you. It's like, what's the matter with you? I mean, we're all one people. We're Americans. We should love one another. We should be embracing the differences amongst us.
Well, that's the core values that Jesus taught. Love thy neighbor, not meaning thy immediate neighbor. Love everybody. Help the homeless.
Yes.
These are all core values. So, definitely, Lewis, a much respect for sticking to those core values and emulating that in your own actions.
And that's one thing everyone needs to understand, and I have to say this continuously, because for my own sake and my own soul, and for doing the right thing for my daughter, Veterans on Patrol can never be about Lewis Arthur. This movement can never be about a person. You can never put me in the front of the bus. I use that analogy. I said, look, we got 22 war fighters abandoning suicide every day. You're never going to put me in front of them. You're not going to put me in front of the mothers I'm out here marching for awareness for. The moms of the 22. So many who don't have their stories heard, who are suffering in silence across this country through an epidemic nobody wants to address. All they want to do is talk about it and throw money at the problem when we need to be throwing people at the problem. I'll never be put in front of that. I won't allow it. I'll walk away before it even gets to that point. This isn't about Lewis Arthur. I have faith that every time I've been deployed, it's something greater than me. Since my awakening, since my change, my conversion, it's been an awakening. And I go out there and I know I'm doing the right thing. So don't make it about me. Make it about he who is greater than me, or you make it about the people I'm out here for. You tell their stories. You make it about the homeless veteran. You make it about the homeless poor person. You make it about the volunteers who allow me to be out here and help them. Every person who donates that case of water, who comes down and sits with them and volunteers, who treats them with the same love and compassion that we treat them with. And I'm a clown here.
Same love and compassion that you would expect. Treat people the same way. That seems to be a core value of many religions, even the Muslim religion. But it seems like
they get perverted.
We get perverted.
And I ask my fellow Christians, my brothers and sisters in Christ, where are you? We're in churches. You've locked God away in the churches, and the church isn't even open to the public 24/7. So then you lock God's house out from society. You blame the government for taking God out of school, but you don't do nothing to put God in the community. And we judge. What are we doing judging people? How do you lead someone to a Lord and Savior you worship if you're out there telling them they're not worthy? Who are we to tell anyone that when we're not perfect ourselves? I fail every day. Look, I've failed multiple times since being deployed. I'm a sinner. I'm going to sin all the time. Some sins are bad, some sins but it's a sin's a sin.
Right.
Do you think God's going to judge me any less than what some other person does? And who's any man to interpret the Bible for you? I don't listen to pastors and preachers for a reason.
You do
I believe in false.
self-interpretation?
The Bible is a blueprint for the individual. It's your personal book. It is your blueprint for God's purpose for you. And that's my belief. No one else has to believe like that, but that's the way I will carry forth with my belief. No man can dictate and tell me that this Bible verse means this. That doesn't come from you. Okay? I will get that. God will show me what that Bible verse means. But instead of debating these verses, we just go out and do it. We're not going to talk about loving our neighbors. We're going to go out and love our neighbors. We're not going to talk about feeding the poor. We're going to give them a loaf of fish and a fishing rod. We're going to go do it because that is what I believe Christ would want us to do. And if I'm going to emulate anyone in the history, of the world, it would be Christ.
That's what Christ taught. Well, that's exactly what Christ taught, and I thank you for that, Lewis. I thank you. I know it's not about you, but I thank you for
it's a
coming
trap.
to that
Look
conclusion.
at how many great people were out there doing a cause. And the cause was so great and it was so powerful. And then they reached this peak. And then all of a sudden they have all this fame, all this attention. Look, man, I want to be left alone when this is done. As soon as we get the bases built, I told you, I'm grabbing my pack. I'm going right back out there, doing my walkabouts, living with them one by one. I'll be the guy bringing them to the bases we built. I'll be the guy out in the field taking orders from some other commander, because that's where I love being. My job is to find the shepherds and put the shepherds in place and then go be a shepherd myself. I have my own flock to tend to out there, and I'm going back to them when this gets done.
Yeah, it seems like that's part of the human condition. We have something that starts on good ideas, good morals. Once it grows to a certain point, it seems to be co-opted by evil.
So dealing with the veterans, they're war fighters, man. They're warriors. They need to be reminded that they're warriors. They need to be shown the respect that they earn, through their actions. They need to be appreciated. They need to be given a purpose. We've got plenty of purposes. We've got an unsecured border down there. I would trust that border with our returning war fighters, who don't want to come back here and have to deal with the bloodshed and decisions they had to make and the lives, and, that standing on a border just doing watch and not worrying about, a bomb, an IED or something like that, just keeping the border safe. There's purposes for them right there. You come to Veterans on Patrol, you help us find your brothers and soldiers. There's purposes for you right there.
Kind of gives you a reason to get up in the morning.
There's plenty of reasons ways we can use our veterans returning. There's plenty of ways we can use them. We need them leading our law enforcement. We have the fewest amount of war fighters serving in Congress right now than we've had in the history of the United States.
Yet they're so anxious to throw us to war.
Yeah, exactly. Why? Because you have the fewest amount of war fighters in here who know war, who've experienced war, and know that should be a last ultimate decision if you can achieve your goals diplomatically. If you can find some way to negotiate.
I hate that.
And they would be the last ones to vote going to war. And that's why you don't have war fighters in the great numbers that you need in Congress. We don't have representation.
Yeah.
You got to listen. There's so many people out there right now, they're wondering what their purpose is, but, just be quiet and listen for a minute. And then when you get this feeling and you're supposed to do something, you don't hesitate, you do it. You take a leap of faith. If you're going out there to help another person, you don't be afraid. You're out there doing a good thing, you're doing the right thing.
Well, overcoming fears, that's another core value of what Jesus taught.
Yeah. What's there to be afraid of? God be for you, who be against you? If you're not religious, you don't fear death. It's like, what is there really to be afraid of? If you're doing the right thing.
Well, and what good does fear do anyway in any situation?
It cripples us. That's what it does to this country. All the information coming from the media, the majority of it is fear oriented. It's to make Americans fear everybody. And why are we afraid of our military? Why are we afraid of our police? Why are we afraid of our government? Why are we afraid of our own neighbors? Why are we afraid of someone because they have a different skin color or they worship a different faith?
Well,
why are we afraid of them? Why aren't we engaging them? Because if you talk to them, you might realize, that's a human being there. And even though I don't understand everything and we don't agree on everything, if we can agree that we would love and respect each other's right to exercise their liberty in America, our problems would be solved. Instead of trying to conform it to what our idea of America is, you leave America alone and you leave everyone else alone. You let them exercise their liberties if they're not hurting anyone.
Right.
Everyone has the right to be happy, to be free, to be themselves. We don't look for reasons to judge people. We look for reasons to help people. Start flipping it around on them and you'll see miracles happen.
Is that what you think maybe the core values of our modern patriot movement in our country are or should be?
Our modern patriot movement, they're coming a long way from what they've been. But the sad thing is it's been a culling. It's been the numbers. We're in the patriot movement in almost every aspect you can imagine. We support constitutional militias. We support border groups like AZBR, Naylor, and them. We support anyone that's actively out doing something good, And the numbers of the people willing to go out there and do it, they're few, far in between. And we can't seem to get people to respect one another. You know, here, respect this house. When I'm in your house, I'll respect your house. Together, we'll use our houses to accomplish this. You know.
So it's like more of a sense of brotherhood.
Well, we don't have that too much. We have an illusion of all these millions of patriots on Facebook. But what are you going to do? You know, when that power's cut, you're not even going to be able to check to see if you had likes on your last post or how many shares you had. You're not even going to be able to know. And what are you going to do at that point? How many people around you in your immediate area do you even know by name? How many of you had dinner with? How many are prepared? Are you prepared? You know, are you able to survive 3, 4, 5 days without electricity and food? You know, do you have the means? What if it's something longer? I mean, you know, and we're spending our time living in this illusion while meanwhile reality, it's getting scary out here in reality, you know, and we're out there trying to help people remove their fear. There's every reason for people to be afraid because not everything they talk about is a conspiracy. There is good and there is evil in this world, and to deny that is asinine. Of course there's evil. Of course there are powerful families, powerful entities in the global elite, you know, that could possibly, of course, it's common sense. Yes. Now, is there going to be some plan to wipe out and exterminate the earth? What's worrying about that going to do? Because there's nothing you're going to be able to do with it if you're hitting that mouse and you're sitting there on your computer all day.
Yeah.
You know, and if you want to survive something like that, why aren't you out there building your neighbors up and making a plan? Well, yeah, and we want to take people's fear away. I don't want them to be afraid of our military. I don't want them to abandon our troops.
Well, I think they got to be reminded that the majority of people are good. They really are. There's a small minority that's absolutely horrifically horrible.
I used to be in that minority. I know it's a minority, but that's all you see. You don't see the media doing all these stories. There's so many wonderful organizations out. I could spend 20 minutes just listening to them all right now. And they're all doing amazing things, you know. Most of them are not. We're unique in the event that we're all volunteer. We're not a nonprofit. We don't want money. We just want supplies. We'll be the boots on the ground. But there are other
the tools and resources to achieve what you're trying to achieve.
But see, we have the ability to do what other groups can't, what the VA Homeless Outreach Team can't, what Project Action Veterans Outreach Team can't. We can go places, we can do things that you can't do. We can operate a shelter in a way you can't because we don't accept government money. We don't accept anybody's money. We have business from a private property owner to be here. We're under the Good Samaritan law. No one's getting paid, and we're helping people.
So you would definitely be encouraging people to use their individual skills to make
believe in themselves.
Believe in themselves.
And you know what? The best way to believe in yourself is to go out there and believe in someone else. And there's a whole lot of homeless veterans right now that need us to believe in. There's a whole lot of homeless Americans, women, children, our own neighbors that are suffering on the streets with no hope. They need us to believe in them. When you go believe in them, and you see what happens to you and that person and that life and how it changes, you automatically believe in yourself because it was your belief in them and you had the power to save a life, to improve another person's life versus spending all your time arguing with the liberal or arguing with the right-wing radical. Who cares?
It seems to have that belief and put it into action seems like priceless to the individual, to the person actually doing it.
And it's only common sense to me because I used to be evil. I used to, you know, and I tell people, I you know, you've heard it.
You're doing the best you can.
So I know exactly, you know, the games. I know exactly the pitfalls. I know what they are, you know. I've fell in every single one of them. I still fall in some every now and then.
You're doing your best to change your evil ways, right? What more can you ask of anybody?
I can say probably about 98, 99% of my evil ways are astronomically eradicated. I'm too busy out here trying to help people. And I might slip and fall on my face every now and then, but, you know, I jump back up. Because you know why? I've got all these people out here who believe in me.
Depending on you, yeah.
Well, it's not so much that they depend upon me, it's that they actually believe in me. Which in turn helps me believe in myself. And all I do is believe in them, and it's a cycle.
And it kind of feeds that positivity. It's kind of like the...
self-rejuvenating.
Every action creates a positive reaction.
Self-rejuvenating community, basically.
Well, now as far as you brought up, we're at a private business owner.
Yes, sir.
He's allowed you guys to to set up camp and to do this great homeless experiment, which seems to be doing quite well. What kind of hurdles have you had with the city now?
Well, we were evicted off the first property. The eviction wasn't done properly either. They know that. We know that. We're not making an issue of it. We understand the initial reaction to us coming here. Oh no, here's a tent city, all these homeless people, all this crime. Remember when Safe Park took place, you had all those things that happened. So people were already, no, not another tent city. And
with the
we
pods
understood
and everything. Sure.
We understood, but we also tried the whole plan was just to come set up a 22-day mission and to go from the 1st of the month to the 22nd of each month and make a 22-day program and move from park to park around the city, help as many people as we can in 22 days and move and go somewhere else. But then HMS Fastener showed up, and then they had all this land, and the owner wants to have a community garden for the poor. And he looked at me and he said, I want you to build a base for the poor. Because I met with him, I set a proposal out, and I said, this is what we're going to do. He had trespassers here, they were homeless. Instead of having the police come in, we came in, mediated, we got them moved. Then we had to kind of move them over to another spot so they wouldn't be over in the city park, because there are needles all over this place. And 250-something syringes removed since we've been out here.
So there was a more of an evil element of the homelessness, probably.
It wasn't so much evil, I don't think so. I mean, I know the individuals that have been living out here. It's, they have addictions. You know what? They have their addictions, and I believe if some of us would believe in them, some of them could be saved. And other ones, you're not going to be able to save them, but you still are supposed to care for them. You don't sit there and say you're not worth trying to fight for.
Well, and those are the people who need it the most, the ones trapped in addiction and dependence.
There's someone inside of almost every addict out there. I used to be one. There's someone inside there screaming, trying to put a stop to it. It's inside there. And if you've never been one, you probably wouldn't understand. But if you ever have, you know what that is inside. It's so small, but you can feel it. It's trying to break and stop, and it's trying to stop you. And sometimes it takes someone who, like a former addict or a homeless advocate, to go and encourage them, and to break open, and to make them believe in themselves that they can break their addiction.
It's kind of like a lobster trap. Addiction's a lobster trap. Once you're in there, it's kind of hard to get out. Maybe if you get someone to help you out, then it's up to the individual whether they're going to swim off or they're going to go back in.
Yeah, our job's to plant the seed. I tell people, we open the door. If they want help, we're going to go find the right door. We're going to open it. Once they walk through it, they're on their own, with their decisions. Are we still going to be there? Yeah. If you fail and end up homeless again, do you got a place back here? Yeah. You know what? We're not going to give up on you. We know that a pretty high percentage, like 64 to 70% of the people who ended up placed through VOP, have gone back, left the shelter, or gone back into a shelter or lost. But it doesn't matter. If that 3 out of 10 is still out there in a home doing something good, then we've accomplished something and no one else has. We went on the ground, we found the ones who needed help, who wanted help, and then we saved the ones who needed to be saved, who were ready. And they got that chance. Instead of just writing them all off as bums, drug addicts, worthless, they're never going to be anything. We go and find people and believe in them, and if 3 out of 10 get off of the streets, well, that's 30% less homeless population you have. Because you're never going to end homelessness, so stop talking about it and stop wasting tax dollars on it.
Yeah.
It's not, they're not a problem. They talk about the homeless as if there's some type of problem that needs fixed. There ain't nothing wrong with them. There's something wrong with us. There is something seriously wrong with us that we would judge the freest people in the nation. They're not living by our time schedules. They're not worrying about mortgages and doing jobs they don't like and stressing out about bills. They can go wherever they want. And all they want is a safe place to sleep at night and be left alone for the most part, the ones that want to be on the street.
And as a society, why can't we provide that for them? Obviously, paying taxes and throwing money at the problem. You're out here because there's a void that needs to be filled.
But see, here's the thing is, you say as a society, why can't we provide for them? This is what we're doing. We're doing it right now. We're in defiance of the city. We're in defiance of the government itself. We flat out said we don't need permission to help our neighbor. I don't need a permit to feed the poor. I don't care what you say. Okay, you're not going to stop me from doing my missionary work, and to me, this is missionary work. This is me going to plant the seed. This is me going to be the good Samaritan, loving my neighbor the way. And if, trust me, you want me doing good. You don't want to ever get me switched back to where I'm back on the other side, because I'm very destructive. You know, you want to be encouraging me in this, because we can do all kinds of wonderful things.
And you want to encourage others.
Because we're doing it. We're doing it. They can do it.
Right.
They can do it. We're doing it right now. Well, and I hear that from people. Well, how do you do this? And well, what about this permit and all this other stuff? And it's like, where do you see us worrying about that? We go out there every day. There's 3 aspects of our mission. We find every homeless veteran in the state of Arizona. We help every poor person along the way, including the homeless veteran. And we provide a free community service. Whether it's removing paraphernalia from parks, cleaning up graffiti, trimming down neighbor's yard, picking up trash, we provide some free community service for the community as a thank you for allowing us to come into their community and find our homeless warfighters.
And that must allow people that you're helping to also in turn make a positive impact in the society.
It's paying it forward.
Not be of a burden. Well, and then with like the city said this is only zoned for business.
This is zoned commercial Z3, and
right.
there is one. The city. I was explaining from the city from the beginning, you know, and this isn't a pissing contest between VOP and the city of Tucson. For the most part, I can tell you,
you're not playing games.
Yeah,
you're not playing the pissing contest.
Yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, we're not playing the politics. We told
politics,
the city where we stand. They've told us where they stand. When they call another round table, we will go to that round table. You know, but the city itself is looking back, and I know that because they monitor everything, and they're seeing all these lives change. They're going to the page today. They're seeing all these vets go out to the VA. Vets get taken care of, getting put in the system. They're seeing a woman get an apartment. She's off base in a safe place off the streets because we were here. That's what they're seeing. And as long as we continue to show them that, they're not going to bother us. You know,
right.
We make the government our enemy by placing so much blame on their failures when we should be out there helping be part of the solution. Definitely. If crime's bad in your neighborhood, stop complaining about an understaffed, underpaid police department. Get together with your neighborhoods and start walking around and do community patrols. You know, and discourage bad people from coming. That's all we do. We send out patrol units, and we all have an American flag, and we have combat veterans leading the way, and that is a deterrent.
Or if you're going to do evil in my neighborhood, we're here to watch.
Yeah.
We're here to notice,
watch.
and we're here to deter you from harassing.
Yeah, you don't blame. What does blaming accomplish? What does it ever accomplish? It's one thing, and it's hard.
I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame. Now, can we get over it? Then
exactly.
We can work on something. You can blame me. Okay, now that we're through with that, now what should we do? Awesome. Well, Lewis, thank you.
Yes, sir.